but you said the difference between a house and a home.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me, I like how you talk about that. I want to, can you talk a little bit about that?
The important thing is just everyone, going into this home ownership thing, are you buying a house or are you buying a home? And I ask questions all the time. What is the difference? And everyone has a different answer. I asked someone in the crowd and he was screaming like, home is where the heart is. And I was like, well, that's true too. But the important thing to know is if we're going into this home buying journey, and especially the last couple of slides there that Josh talked about with maybe wealth building, passive income, generational wealth, however you want to label it, going into this home ownership game with kind of an end in mind is almost, I'm not even going to say it's advantageous. I think it's a necessity. I think it's a necessity because if you're going into this and you're going to buy a house and it's only ever going to be a house, then there's a different search criteria. There's different sacrifices that have to be made. I tell the story, Josh, about when I bought my house in Hawaii. It was only ever going to be a house. For those of you familiar with the island of Oahu, I bought out past Kapolei, and I had to commute to Pearl Harbor every single day because I was stationed there in the Navy. And I knew that I knew that if I woke up at 4:40 and I left at 4:50, I could get to base by 5:05. But if I left at 5, I'm getting to base on Thursday. That's how bad traffic was. So I tell people, for 2.5 years, I woke up at 4:40, I left at 4:50, and I got to base at 5:05. I got the best parking spot, and I slept in my car 2 hours before work every single day for 2.5 years. And I hated it. But when I sold my house and I got an escrow check for $156,000, I quickly forgot about a 4:40 alarm clock.
You weren't thinking about that 2 hours?
I wasn't thinking about sleeping in the front seat of a Jeep for 2 hours. So my point is there's sacrifices, right? There's no right or wrong answer of whether you're buying a house or whether you're buying a home. The only wrong answer is not knowing exactly kind of what you're getting into. And every single person, every person's journey is going to be different. Like Josh and I are not here to tell all of you to run out and use your VA loan. We're here tonight to tell you have a VA loan. A lot of people don't even know that they have one. So we got to start somewhere, right? That's the big thing is the home buying journey itself. There's so many things that go into it, but before you even start it, you got to think about what it entails. And a lot of people, and I had mentors that helped me, but I didn't even know the questions to ask. So sit down with people that you know, like, and trust and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? What have you heard? What could you recommend? Because if the destination is 4 properties within 10 years, we're going to have a different conversation than someone that says, hey, I'm PCSing here. I'm going to get BAH. I'm going to be here 3 years. Or maybe I'm going to live here forever. Who knows? Conversations are different. They're different.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
I like those conversations because it's more, I know that when that conversation was had with me, it opened my eyes to everything. I said, holy cow, like I could sit down and talk numbers and stuff and I could go look at houses, but what type of houses do I look at? How much do I want to spend? Just find out what your individual scenario calls for.
How long were you in the Navy before you used your VA loan?
I bought in 2012 and I joined in 05. I was in the Navy 7 years. Okay. 7 years. I was in E6 before I knew anything about my VA loan.
So you'd been doing it for a while.
I've been in the military for a long time and I've rented and I've lived on base and all that stuff. Didn't know anything about my benefit. And I always tell the story. A shipmate of mine got out of the Navy one day into the mortgage industry and he calls me and he goes, hey, Adam, you should buy a house. And I go, hey, Chris, I don't even buy groceries. He goes, hear me out, man. So I did a little bit of research and then the trajectory of my entire life changed. It sounds dramatic, dude. It does, but it's real. It's true. It's true.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
And so when you bought, what was the feeling like though? You're in E6, active duty on a rock in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Because
you're from
Michigan.
Michigan. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy.
Not in Kansas. I'm 28. My entire family is thousands of miles away in Michigan. Right. I'm spending $0.4 million on a house. Who the hell do I think I am, dude? I was terrified. But I sat down and I said, look, man, for me, I went to my loan officer. I said, it doesn't make sense for me to spend 400 grand. And I don't know what this interest rate means. What does a monthly payment for me look like? Because I know how much I make every month and I know how much I spend every month. So I needed to think of it like that. So he ran all the numbers and he said, Adam, your monthly payment, it was like $2,200, which was less than my BAH. So it made perfect sense, you know? Mm-hmm. But I had to find out factually where I stood because I didn't know what those numbers mean. I can't do those numbers in my head. You know, I said, what does this mean? What can I expect? All the stuff Josh talked about, rainy day fund. Rainy day fund is real, y'all, because when you become a homeowner and your refrigerator breaks, who fixes it? You do. Yep. So you keep that in mind too. Yeah. Keep that in mind.
To wrap it up, tell me this one last part, which is what did the VA loan do for you and your family when you were sitting there around that Christmas time? Tell me that. I love this story and I want you to share it with them because it is hands. I've heard 1,000 stories about people's home ownership and a lot of them parallel.
Yeah.
Everyone's story is here. Adam's is right here. There's no other story about the VA loan as yours. And that's why I want you to share it real quick and tell me about what it did for you with your family specifically.
It was when I bought my house, there's 9 of them, mom, dad, brother, sister, brother-in-law, nieces and nephews, and they're all in Michigan. And I would always go home on leave. The 9 of them wanted me. It only made sense. But now that I was a homeowner, I wanted them to come to Hawaii. I wanted them to see what I had done. But it's really hard to get 9 calendars to line up to go to Hawaii. It's also really freaking expensive to get 9 people to Hawaii. So
I just came back from there with 3 people. So
you get it. Yeah, you get it. So when I bought my house, the market in Hawaii was lightning fast at the time. So after about 4 years, I had some equity in my property. And I took out a home equity line of credit, just borrowed against the equity I had. And I sent home $15,000 to the family. And I said, I get emotional talking about it, dude. It was the best day of my entire life. And I said, I've removed your last obstacle. I'm flying you all out to Hawaii. And I don't know which way do I got it.
That's so dope.
That's it. That's
that's the picture.
That's one of them. Yeah, that's all of us in Hawaii.
The other one was with you guys at the airport.
The other one was us at Honolulu Airport. But dude, it was the best day of my life. You know, I'm still not married. I don't have any kids. I've heard both of those things are life-changing events. But that picture it's the best day of my life. And I'll be very honest. If I didn't use my VA loan, that picture does not exist. It doesn't exist. I don't have, who has 15 grand just to send home? No, military doesn't pay you to buy $15,000 worth of plane tickets. They pay you to buy bread and milk. You know what I mean? So if I wouldn't have used my VA loan, that picture doesn't exist. So if I wouldn't have used my VA loan, the picture that encapsulates the best day of my life would have looked different. Yeah.
That's so dope, man.
It was the best vacation I've ever went on, and I didn't go anywhere. I had
That's a good point, actually. I
had 9 people come to Honolulu. We were all together in December of 2017. Yeah, man, it was special. It was special. It was cool.
That's awesome, man. Cool. Thank you for sharing that with us, man. Seriously.
Thanks for allowing me.
I've heard the story a couple times, and every time it doesn't get old. Every time.
And the thing is, that is what my VA loan looks like. And everyone here tonight has a different VA loan that's going to look differently. And I hope it does. You know, I hope it does look differently. And thanks, Tony. Thanks.